Blog Talk Radio.
Here at ACO Radio, American Communications Online, or any affiliated stations or websites are not responsible for what guest hosts or call-ins may say. All programming is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only.
Hello, world. This is TJ Morris, and you are listening to American Communications Online. And we are bringing both TJ Morris ET radio shows and Aquarian radio shows together with my BFF, Janet Kira Lessin of Maui, Hawaii. And today is Talk Shows Live interviews of Ascension Age Ace Guides Online. Now, I am a publisher of books, especially dealing with the Ascension Age, which is the age of now, I guess one might say, working with our higher source, our that which we call the A field, Akashic Records. And we do psychic readings here on Thursdays if you'd like to join me and Suzanne. Now, Karen is one of the she's with me on Best Psychic Directory. A lot of us are in a group of people that find each other and assist each other in prayer, meditation, readings, hypnotherapy, energy readings. And Janet Kira Lessin has counseling of the Tantra School with her husband, Dr. Alexander Sasha Lessin in Hawaii. And she, on Friday, is helping me with bringing together informational type radio shows and blogs. And she lives in Maui, Hawaii. And she met me over there when I was doing psychic fairs and the Spiritual World Network, and we started blending together sort of integrative medicine with psychologists and people that helped other people in motivational speaking and support. And we had groups, and we've been doing that pretty much no matter what as a hobby since that time. I started at 84. And she came over and met me in 94. It was either 93. I think she came in 93. But she's bringing on Karen Gresham Bucket. Karen Gresham Nickel. She is a clinical hypnotherapist. She does energy readings. And she's been working as a researcher for author David St. Clair. And their work together brought them throughout the world, including Brazil, the United Kingdom, the United States, Mexico, and many other parts of the world, where they presented workshops and private consultations. So it was in Rio that Karen undertook a project for intensive personal spiritual discovery and focused on indigenous Brazilian practices along with the exploration of paranormal phenomena. And all you guys that follow us, Theresa and Janet, working together, you know we love the paranormal and we love phenomena, so we're considered phenomenologists. Now, during the mid-'80s, Karen operated her private practice in the Parioli residential section of Rome. I hope I said that right. In Italy. Wow. So over the past 35 years, this beautiful woman in spirit, Karen's worked as a transformational teacher helping others with energy readings in clinical hypnotherapy for individuals and entrepreneurs and helping create a better culture with mediumship readings. And she loves people. And she's also helped a lot of people that have lost loved ones. So she's very empathic and very sweet and spiritual, kind soul. And she's entered a lifetime with a gift of insight. So she is a clinical hypnotherapist and intuitive medium, a licensed educator in the state of Texas. So her special is helping individuals, but she also helps them remove hidden blocks that are preventing them from achieving their own personal goals. And she's going to be with us now. And as I said, Janet Kira Lessin, Aquarian Radio, and I syndicate together. And I am using my home direct line, so Janet will know that. So let me bring on Janet, and let's introduce her. Hi, Janet. Hi, Janet. You want to introduce yourself?
I am, I'm your co-host, Janet Kira Lessin. I'm calling in from Maui, Hawaii. I tried to call into the back end of my show, but that's not working. But we will record this, and I will then upload it as soon as we're done with today's show. I had Karen on this week, and I've had her on before, and I'm so impressed by her. And tonight, my vision is that we're going to do a panel, and the three of us will go roundtable style and talk about what's current and what's up for us, and ask each other questions. So I figured we could probably fit in about 4 questions if we're quick on this. And I thought we could focus around metaphysics, spirituality, consciousness, current events, extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, paranormal, psychic readings, mediumship, experiencers, and more. Karen has worked with experiencers, and so we've all had experiences, and she conveyed a story about her recently departed husband who contacted her after he passed. So I would suggest we just bring her on to get started because the shows go very fast.
Okay, I'm going to punch her on, and I'm going to mute Karen. Or, well, I guess I should stay at least say hi to her.
Yes, say hi.
I don't think she's been on my show. Hi, Karen. Can you hear me? We'll test you out here. Can you hear TJ? Hi.
Hi, TJ. How are you? I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, you sound great. Great.
Oh,
awesome.
Wonderful. I'm in a building, so sometimes the Wi-Fi system kind of acts out, and if that were to happen, I have another phone we could switch to. So if this one sounds good, if there's an issue, just let me know, and we'll do something about it.
Okay, well, I've got and Janet, I'm using my home direct line, so you don't have to worry about me on that direct. Sometimes we have different connections, Karen, that will drop. So I'm hoping I've got the best connection to the studio in New York. Now, I used to live in Texas. I went to high school in Houston. I was in the Spinnerets there, and some of my best living with raising my children was in Houston. Can you tell me what part of Texas you were in? Because I can sense a little bit of an accent there.
I know. I try to do away with that, but it only happens when I speak Portuguese. No, I'm from Dallas, but I love Houston. I
lived in Dallas too. I met my last husband. Yeah, Janet knows my last husband. Well, he's on the other side now, but I know we're going to talk about that. But go ahead, Karen, and then Janet will take over. She's going to help. She always has been hosting with me since the beginning of my show. But on Fridays, I sort of want her to lead, if you don't mind. I'm a very dominant alpha female. So it's nice to have another one on the show. But anyway, tell me a little more.
TJ towers over me. I mean, she just towers over. So dominant voice and a dominant looming personality. Very, very wonderful person TJ is. Well, you just mentioned, TJ, that your husband passed, and I know you had contact after he passed. I actually had contact with your husband after he passed. Your sister-in-laws had contact with him, and then your husband passed, Karen. So why don't we start first with you, and let's talk about ghosts this first half hour or so. About
crossing over.
Discarded people have crossed over. So what do you know about the other side? Yeah, what do you know about people?
Well, I've known about it since I was 13 because I lost my mother at that age. And I knew a year before she passed that she was going to die. And so I predicted it, and it happened. And then I started studying it throughout. And then I lost my husband in October of the 29th of this past 19. So what happened is that he knew that he was going to die. Well, he was in hospice, and a week before he died, we made a pact, and he told me that he would come to me and find different ways of synchronicities and signs and symbols to do it. And we were both studying this for 20 years. So this is what happened. But it was interesting because he was with hospice, and I was there with him right when he passed. And so the people came on a stretcher to take him to, we both prefer to be cremated. And when they...
Let me ask you something about him passing. You were there physically when he passed. Did you see anything? Did you see his...
Yeah, I'm going to tell you.
Okay, tell us about that.
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
But what he did while he was sick, that day he wanted to put on his Roswell T-shirt with the little ETs in front. It's really cute.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he died in that T-shirt. And we had a woman to come in who was I forgot to tell you this yesterday, Janet. She did an aura cleansing with him, with his spirit, right when he was gone. And she was in here. She's very good. Her name is Laura Sutherland. She's a minister at the Unity Church here in Dallas. And she did a beautiful performance. And then we had 2 nurses and 2 other people. So when the people arrived to get him, there was a man who was tall, maybe 6'4", and he had on a long black coat, very sweet, very quiet. And then there was a very small girl with blonde hair. She's kind of pixie-ish, very cute, with big round blue eyes. And she asked me, she said, now, I assume you're wanting the T-shirt when we fix his body for the stretcher. And I said, oh, definitely. So they got him in, and she said, do you prefer for us to cover him? Or I said, no, leave his face normal. And she looked at me. She was at the end of the stretcher. She said, are you from Roswell? And I said, no. And I said, are you? And I thought, why would I ask her that? And so she said, yes, as a matter of fact, I am. I said, you are? And all of a sudden, I looked around at Robert, and I could see his ethereal body from the waist up, raise up with a smile, not physically, but energy-wise, and he was transmitting to me through interdimensional communication at that moment with such happiness, and because he was excited about this synchronistic connection we were making. And I guess he just silently lay back down, or, this is ethereal, not physically. And she said, I said, let me ask you something. I didn't care who was in the room, how much conventionality was in there or not. I said, what about 1947 out there? She said, well, we're a part of that. I said, oh, my God, thank God. And I'm telling you.
So what do you think she meant by that?
Oh, I thought I meant that she was an ET and a hybrid.
Oh.
And that's what she was translating to me. She grabbed my 2 fingers, my index finger and my 3rd finger of my right hand, and she said, we're going to take care of him, you know that. I said, yes, I do. And his ethereal body raised back up slightly, and there was a smile transmitting, and it excited that I got it, because they all get really excited when the people that they love make contact, get the contacts they're making, because they're still not really. And so then I said, well, my goodness. She said, oh, yes. She said, there's a bunch of us out there. I said, I thought so. She said, you know. I said, yes, I do. I said, can I walk with you to the car? And so we walked to the car, and they put him in this very low, unusually looking car. His brother was walking with me, and he said, that's a very unusual car. And I said, well, it is, but he's taken care of. And so it was released, and they proceeded forward. That was the first contact. And I've had 2 or 3 since that, because I do a lot of research, and I want the truth. I don't want to just embellish anything. And once after that, he wanted me to do a celebration of life, which was really big. I had musicians, I had concert pianists, I had a big deal, because he wanted to pick out his music, and he picked out everything right there with me. I was sitting in a chair, trying to decide what oldies but goodies we were going to get. And so one of them he picked out was Tuesday afternoon, and it was by the Moody Blues, And
right.
I thought, my goodness, and I thought, what? It's been so long since I remember the word. So I let myself listen to it, and it was just as if somebody was passing. And I thought, oh my gosh. And so he went through various songs with me, with this, getting them ready for the people to put them on downstairs in the ceremony of life that was given. It was so beautiful, and so forth. And I'm trying to make this real short. So after that, he appeared, but he appeared in the bedroom. He was standing up by the side of the bed with one leg kind of crocked. He died from COPD.
Great. Wow.
So imagine if he were now. And so he was like struggling to make an appearance, but it was a younger age. And I didn't turn around and look because something told me not to, and then that was it. But I could feel the difficulty of transcending dimensions at that time, that it was really hard for them to come in to this heaviness of the 3D from where he was at that time. So that was it. And then he used to,
let me ask you about that. You said he was coming in, but he was looking like he was younger?
Yeah, he was. He was at the age where he always wanted to be, which was probably mid-30s. And he was back in that time because he probably had shape-shifted himself back to where he wanted to be. So
that happened to my mother, too. My mother came to me.
And she came at a younger age.
Well, I think that what happens, what I've read, is that when we are in the other side, we automatically revert back to, like, in our 30s.
Yeah, we get to take our pick, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, right. And my mother had been, she had a stroke, so she couldn't move the whole one side of her body.
Oh,
and
goodness.
so when she came back, she was talking up a storm out a minute, but she was very animated, and I couldn't make out what she was saying because she was talking at it was like 78. This won't make sense to people that don't know records. But records could play at different speeds, right? There's 33 and 78, and so I couldn't make out what she was saying because she was in a higher vibratory frequency. Anyway, let's stay with, what was your husband's name again?
Robert, yeah.
Robert.
But the best thing of all, and I'll make this short, was when one day I had come back. I mean, I've had several different things, and total synchronistic symbols, which we all do if we're in tune and empathic, and you guys are, and you know how it works. But I got the messages from my landline. I was checking my messages when I got in, and he was on the telephone. Now, this was just unbelievable. And Janet heard it. After I don't want it to be on the air, but
right.
She and Sasha heard it, and if you want to hear it afterward, I'll let you hear it, TJ. But I couldn't believe it, and I played it over and over again. And I have this guy that is a lifesaver to me. He's an IT specialist. He's a famous musician, and he's his pictures are like from National Geographic, and he came to me after Robert passed because Robert knew I needed an IT help, that I'm basically illiterate when it comes to all this stuff, like the computer and Zoom and all kinds of stuff. And so Derek's been with me since November, and he's fabulous. And he's very metaphysical. It's just like couldn't have been any better. So he's also a sound tester. And so I said, let's check this out. So I let him hear. He'd never met Robert, and I let him hear the voice from one of the little videos that I had taken before he died. I've taken many for him to hear his voice while he was alive, and then hear this voice. He said, "Oh my God!" And 4 people who knew him near me said, "Oh my God!" And these people aren't metaphysical, and they said,
right.
My God, there's no way that's definitely him. But here's what he did. it was like he was struggling to get through the dimensions, and he could barely talk. Now, he had a problem with his voice anyway because of the COPD, but he said, I might try a vehicle, and that's all it was. But the word vehicle came out. And Janet heard it.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And several people I've known have had that happen. Someone in Brazil had that happen. And then, yeah. What did you think about it, Janet?
Oh, I've heard of people that have had it happen, but I had never actually heard that recording, right? But I've been on the YouTubes, and there's lots of people that are able to capture the voices. And I was, maybe I'll talk to your IT person and see if you can get the IT. I think
see if it would be clear if he could get it.
Yeah, if they've made a phone app, because talking to the dead is so popular now. They've actually created a phone app, and what it is you create a sound array. An array is like, that's why they often use white noise or something as a background. And then when you have an array, people can send images. If you have a light array, they can send sounds with the light array. So I'm not sure exactly how it works. It's a whole field. And if you just go into YouTube, you can, I'm
sure Derek can do it. Yeah.
I'd like to talk to Derek sometime because he's a text guy, and I get stuck. I try to do all this.
Oh, well, I tell you what, when he saw what you sent, he went nuts, and I've never heard him so happy. He said, "My God," he said, "look at that. They're beautiful."
Well,
so he would love to talk to you too. So that will happen.
Excellent. We'll set up the time, because I get stuck sometimes, and I've always had, I call it a geek. I've always had a geek in my life, and they tend to leave or die young. It's like, don't go away, I need you. I'm not married to them, but but that's fascinating. Do you have anything else to add about, and then we'll pass the talking stick? Because I know TJ can add some stuff about Roswell and about her husband's death, and then I'll take it, because I saw her husband, and he was able to come in really loud and clear. So anything else you want to say about working with the dead, or people that you know that have died, or have managed to talk to you? Or
well, I have a lot of them, and I'm not a medium where I talk, where they come into me and I talk. I just am a messenger. So they're still on the peripheral in the other dimensions, and I'm at like a third party. I'm just passing the message on. So the readings that I do, I call them afterlife readings, because I really don't feel I'm a medium who channels and speaks and takes that person into my beingness to speak for them. I just pass it on, because I'm getting pictures through an interdimensional realm. In fact, even while we're talking, I always have pictures going. I'm sure you all do too. So, yeah, I see that a lot.
What you would call what I do, I don't let anybody take me over. My husband does a process where he says, kind of gives you a suggestion, allow that voice to come through you without taking it over. So even in sessions, someone will evoke, someone who died or whatever. What did you want to say to them? And they'll try to express it. So when he says the next level, allow that voice to take over you and let them speak through you, then it comes through loud and clear. That's almost everybody. Everybody that we've worked with that has ever tried that, almost 99%, I'd say, about 99%, we're able to do that. Now, I was with a client in New York, and he was saying how his mother had suicided. And when he started talking about his mother's suicide, he got very upset. He never got to meet her. He was a newborn when she suicided. And so I felt her tap me on the shoulder, my shoulder, and I tried to ignore it. And so I said to my husband, who was directing the session, I said, honey, I think, Bob's mom wants to come through and talk. I've never done this before. Is that something I can do? And, well, let's try. And as soon as he said louder, boy, she just like came in really strong. And
wow.
What happened was a very interesting story. It could be a movie. She had been in love with this young man, and her father was having sex with her. And she wanted to escape her father, but he was very domineering, and so he had been molesting her and having sex with her almost her entire life. And she thought she'd get married and escape. Well, she had this boyfriend, and she was plotting to leave. But then the dad got wind of it, and he must have killed the boyfriend because we never heard from him again. And then somehow years later they found his car. They lived in farm country, so it was out in one of those. You know how the farmers, they make these fields, their old tractors out there, and they don't bother to get rid of them. They just let them rot. All their old cars and all their old tractors would be out in the field, and then they let the fields grow over. So apparently that's where his car was. It was eventually found. But she had, then he brought in somebody that was acceptable for him to marry. And so he made her marry him. So she had 2 children, and then she had the 3rd child. And she knew the first 2 children were her husband's. But when she had the 3rd child, she knew it was her father's. And that pushed her over the edge. So she killed herself. And he was a newborn.
Wow.
And so, anyway, what came through was very accurate in some way because he was saying, yeah, and that fits, and, you know. So, but we forgot to say, now leave her, you know, go away. Because our client had to go get a train, you know, it was New York City, he had to catch it, so he missed it, and we had to catch a plane. So I'm at home, and I feel like I have the flu. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I don't know why, I just feel like I have the flu. And he said, well, so we did a session with me, and there was the mom. She said, you forgot to tell me to let go. She didn't know how to let go either. So it was just fascinating how that works.
Wow, that's quite a story.
I don't know. Yeah, but let's let TJ talk for a moment because I'm going to keep track of it. We've already spent about a half hour. So first hour will be about this carnage, and then we'll take another topic for the second hour. So TJ, are you there? Am I off mute?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Okay, so
I'm unmuted.
We can hear you. Good, thank you. Now your dear husband departed December of 2015. And this is the second, and this is kind of coincidental. And TJ and Thomas, his name is Thomas Becker, or Thomas Morris, and
Thomas R. Morris, like my name.
Thomas R. Morris.
That's okay. Thomas Becker is he's one of my very dear friends that started with Mike Ringley and Revolution Radio, and then I came in helping Mike. Wanted to be on there for a long time, and I wouldn't go, and finally I decided to. But she said Thomas Becker because I have a lot of Thomases in my life, Kara, and I don't know how that all works.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, I have John. First and second husband are John's, and yeah. But let's focus on your. What do you want to tell our listeners?
Okay.
And Karen,
you mean about
Roswell? Just a little bit.
About
like
Roswell.
2 hours, but your connection to Roswell.
Well, let me just mention.
Her husband wore the Roswell T-shirt when he died because it was so important to him. But go ahead.
Well, let me just mention about EMF meters because when I did the conference, Mid-South Con, I got there to be a paranormal moderator of ghosts and people that had books about ghosts and speakers. So it is a part of our paranormal phenomena, folks. And the EMF we were talking about, like a ghost meter, they're very popular.
Yes.
And EVP. Yeah, and you have voice recorders and meters, paranormal research meters, and there's a lot of them. But EVP is what we call electronic voice phenomenon, okay? But we're talking about that because it's part of our show with Janet today and Karen. So ghost EMF detectors are available too. So I'll probably put some of those on one of my domains so y'all can find them. But regarding Roswell, I should market that word too. I promised Jesse Marcel I would. But my husband took me out there because he and I both worked in the UFO field, but it was undercover, I guess one might say. It wasn't known to the public. It wasn't disclosed what we did because it wasn't marketable to John Q. public at the time in the late 80s, early 90s, well, 80s and 90s. So I worked on a secret team, so to speak, of investigators, but you get assigned projects just like you do. And today we pretty much got that all lined up with internet now and how we, work with people in the public. But my husband took me to Roswell because of our work that we discovered in each other, and then we decided that must be how we got together. But as far as him passing December 2nd, 2015, it's still like he's with me today. I've not gotten married. I saw one man, never had relations or anything. He was just a friend I met at a conference with Janet in 2017 in Mobile. And he was with me a few months while my daughter was dying in Moffat. And I'd like to say that, to back up Karen's story, that there were people that were extraterrestrial, people like me, my daughter, because my daughter was passing too, not just my husband. But they both had extraterrestrial DNA origin in them. And when my daughter passed, you could, she knew she was dying, but she wanted to live so badly. My husband, not so much. He was ready to go at the end because he knew what day he would die, and it was he told me. So it's a very deep story. So it's a lot of stuff that, we'll have to. I don't know. Janet tries to help me because it's so deep and there's so many words and such a deep story with both of them. But, I'm trying to get better at, I know what I want to say, but I can't formulate it, Karen. I'm not, unless like I'm doing readings or with tarot cards or something, and I'll let my higher self take over. But in my 3D reality, it's hard to express what one can see dimensionally. So, getting to talk with people like you makes me feel better about talking because for so many years I did it privately. And when I was a child, I wasn't allowed to talk about my experiences in White Sands or having relatives that work, at Los Alamos or, my family was in the government and military generations and Air Force and Navy and Army. And so there's
I want to hear it. I want to hear all about it.
Thank you, but I haven't been. A lot of people think we do this for some reason, but I do it as a facilitator. Basically, people were trying to get me on radio, and I came to help Janet with Stargate to the Cosmos, and just never left. So we've got 8 years of this. June 6th coming up.
Oh,
but Tom is a very important part of me. Tom, Janet liked him because she was a researcher. She went to those. Tom and I never went to one conference together or separately or anything to do with UFOs. We weren't allowed because if we did anything like that, because we had clearances, we'd be fired and probably sent to Leavenworth or something. They always
were you actually working in Roswell? Where were you? You were in the military.
I was working a lot out of Las Vegas, Area 51.
Oh, my God.
And,
I've got stories about
Denver.
that.
Yeah, I went on the base. I went in the base in Dayton, Ohio. I've been on a lot of military bases, but the important part was the part that Tom was doing that I didn't know about, and the part I was doing. I was doing more psychic communication and taking from the time I was 16 to Long Island on a private project. So, but Tom and I had to go to Brookhaven together. I remember that. It was real spooky. But we got sent to all the spooky places,
why was
the fuzzy.
TJ, why was Brookhaven spooky? I thought it was a lab. What made it spooky? Yeah,
there were labs and stuff. We carried stuff as
But what made Brookhaven spooky?
You don't know about Brookhaven? But that'll be a whole nother story.
Okay, we'll go into another time. But you said
You sound like me, TJ.
You said was spooky. It's spooky. Why is it spooky? Why isn't it just
well, you
around?
have to know what Brookhaven did in New Jersey and all that. But that's a whole show.
Maybe Karen will
Well, you've done a little bit with Preston Nichols and Tommy Hawk's.
Oh my gosh!
Preston
I can't
Nichols.
believe it. Are y'all talking about Montauk?
Oh
yeah.
Oh my gosh! I tell you, that
Montauk.
started with me in 1995, and Preston Nichols knows who I am. I've just got to say this one thing. He's dead?
Yeah, he died last year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or something like that.
I just remember when we had the old videos? You know, the old videos, that came in a little book? I just got one out of the blue in 1995, and I was working with Dr. Bormy. We had that clinic. And all it had a sticky pad on the front of it, and this was, not to be sold to given to the public, as you know. And he said, "Enjoy!" ! Karen. That's it. And it told all about it. So anyway, that's what I understand, DJ, when you start rattling on this, because it just keeps going and going. It's like putting all the pieces of the puzzle to make the whole thing. But anyway, I want to hear your stuff. This is not a coincidence, by the way, girls. All these people in the news, and we just met. Can you imagine this? They're probably orchestrating us together for some reason.
Well,
this is what my husband
cover is that I think that TJ had an arranged marriage, so I think that we sometimes get arranged. I just want to interject and then back to TJ. Preston actually died October 5th of 2018 at 4 a.m. I thought it was 2019. So yeah, Preston Nichols, rest in peace. But we had him on our show years ago, but let's go back to.
Yeah, wow! I can't believe we know all the same people.
Yeah, go back
Janet,
I love it.
Janet, I'll tell you this. I will do it this way to protect myself. Brookhaven National Laboratory Research Institute, is a United States Department of Energy national laboratory located in Upton, New York on Long Island, was formally established in 1947 at the site of Camp Upton, a former U.S. Army base. Now, 1947 is basically when we set up the Central Intelligence Agency, but there was another group before that, so that's a whole other show. Plus, Roswell, Kenneth Arnold over in around Tacoma, Wisconsin, Washington, but where he saw the original Kenneth Arnold, and then it goes into the Roswell story. But all of this is all going to be full circle, but, they're covering history right now with some of the basic stuff. Some of it's sensationalized, but I've covered some stuff that I did with J. Allen Hynek. So he was with CUFOS, and I finally figured out the Air Force that my husband and I worked with, Aaron. He was Army, I was Navy, but I was in a special program, as was he. But I got to work Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and wear all the uniforms. But the times that we did the most as investigators, we were plainclothes, GS people. So it's a real interesting story, but I've never been brave enough to tell it and put all the pieces. So I've hid parts of it in books. But basically, a simple autobiography for me is called ACE Guide, ACEGUIDE, ACE Guide. T.J. Thurmond Morris, my maiden name, T.J. Thurmond, Thurmond. So we don't know how it all works, but we feel like the way my husband explained it is the extraterrestrials have their own Supreme High Council, and I write about that in my book. And then also they had their own intelligence men in black, and then there were those that worked with the nuclear, and then like this Department of Energy with the United States from back in 1947, and then that's where we get all our intelligence agencies. I think it's available. I think it's available. Janet helps me with books, but anyway, it's just ACEGUIDE, ACE Guide, if you can find it, because I lost all my original. Amazon or Lulu maybe.
Let Karen, you're cross-talking, so TJ, let Karen ask you a question. Go ahead, Karen. Ask TJ.
I just asked her if it was on Amazon.
We don't know. I'll look it up while we're talking. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's slow down. Let's compare. When we want to talk to TJ, TJ gets on a roll. Just say, TJ, I have.
No, it's okay because everything she's saying is connected to me. It's real. I can see a picture of what's, and you too, Janet. We're all connected for a reason. Now, here's what I'm getting right now. When DJ was talking about the ETs, and you can correct me or add anything to it, is they put us together tonight for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And because of course they work like this all the time. But when you said Preston Nichols and some of these things that happened to me in '95. It was just, I hadn't even gotten started professionally with this. I mean, I've been doing this since I was a kid. And then I tried to go see Billy Meyer when I lived in Europe, but never could get to Switzerland. So I never could really make it. So then whenever I got into this thing here with what you're saying with Preston Nichols, I don't know how he knew anything about me. I remember talking to a woman in Tucson, and I don't know how I got her name, but it was about this, and it was tied into Roswell and the Philadelphia experiment with, who is the guy? And I think he's passed too, the older man.
Duncan,
not Duncan, but the man who lived in Georgia.
The other one.
Right.
Yeah.
And so somehow I was talking to this woman named Beth in Tucson. I mean, it was just like putting dots together, and I didn't know what I was doing, didn't know how, it was just coming to me. And she said, oh, this is really interesting what you're in. I said, well, look, I don't know anything. I don't even know why I'm calling you. She said, well, my father used to be a scientist. He was one of the ones that came in when they brought Einstein in from Germany. And she said, I watched him actually go through, he wanted to go through the door into the energies where he shape-shifted, and that was his exit. And she said, I knew he was in a lot of pain. Anyway, we talked about that. I said, my goodness, this is incredible. She said, well, you have to meet David Childress. She knew him. Well, I didn't. This was way before Ancient Aliens, and I've still never met David Childress, but I know that a woman named Beth living in Tucson told me that. I don't remember her last name. It's been, 25 years ago? And so then I'll jump forward here, and then because there was a guy involved in that whole thing, his last name was Allende, and he supposedly had some kind of a thing in Garland, Texas, on the suburb of Dallas, that there was some stuff hidden there and so forth. And I had this friend who was an attorney, and another little guy that we were with. We were like a bunch of kids. We're going out there to try to see what we could get into. And, it was that sort of thing. And then there were lights all around. And so nothing was ever done of it. Nothing, nothing ever came of it. And we skipped over into this Roswell thing. And so when Robert and I went out to Roswell, he felt that he was drawn out there. Now, he worked when he graduated from A&M, this was in 1967, and he worked before he went into Fort Hood. He went to the Army, but he didn't go to Vietnam. He worked at Bergstrom Air Force Base in Austin. It's an international airport now. And then he went to work for Ellington Air Force Base in Houston. And so that was the first 10 years of our life. And then we were separated for 22 years, and then we got back together in 2000 for another 20 years. So, but nevertheless, we went out it was after one of the symposiums that I did the presentation at StarWorks USA, and we went to Vegas, and I said, look, we can't go home without going to Area 51. He said, do you know how long it is out there? He said, it's 3 hours from Las Vegas out there. I said, I don't care. I said, we have to go. And he said, okay. And so we started off about 2 o'clock. And by the time we got out there, it was getting dark. And there was nobody, out there on the hills, nobody. And, of course, the clouds, y'all have probably been there. So this clouds look like ships and this, that, and the other. So this is, I'm going to make this real short. So we went into the little alien to have a hamburger. Y'all know what that is, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it was closed when we went there, but we did everything you said, all the bases. I've been to all three of those bases. Everything you said, I know all about it.
Yeah, and they were open, and so there was a little gravel road on the side, by the side. We walked in. At that time, Robert didn't have to do a rollator. He just carried a little inogen tank. And I was walking well and went in there, and he said, well, he was asking her, he said, well, how do we get out to Area 51? She said, well, there's a little gravel road to the side of the restaurant here and the hotel here, but you have to go not over 20 miles an hour because animals will cross. And also, don't be alarmed if you see a white car and all of the windows are tinted black. And I said, okay. And she said, but when you get out there, if you take pictures, she said, don't step over the red line or the helicopters will come in, they'll impound your car, and they'll have a gun on you. And so Robert wrote down, he said, do you really want to do this? I said, you bet. And so we went out there, and he paid for the hamburgers. I picked up a couple of T-shirts. He went out to the car. And I said, I sure hope that we got this right because it's dark. She said, well, you know, she said, it's just like Bergstrom. I said, what? I thought, what's this? And I was so shocked that I went out to the car, and I thought, oh, it's happening. And I said, guess what? I said, when we take this road, guess what that woman asked me, or what she told me? He said, what? No telling. And I said, well, I said, I sure hope we get out there. And she said, well, it's like Bergstrom. He said, are you kidding me? I said, no, she said that. I said, who are they? Did they get our license and check you out or something? Because here we are at 10 o'clock at night, and we're going to want to go out there. He said, no, I don't think they're human. I said, really?
Right.
I said, well, that's very interesting. That makes me want to go even more. So we went up there, and it was really strange, and there was that car, and we went up there, and, of course, he couldn't get out, and I had to get out and take pictures, and I would just edge up to but I knew I couldn't cross it. So after I got the pictures developed and all this stuff, there were little lights all over me. And I said, Robert, what's this in the picture? He said, well, it looks like they have a target on you. And he said, do you want to go back out there again? And I said, yes. And he said, okay, that's the last time. You can go one more time. So I did. So I showed these pictures to Derek, and Derek was in the military. He fought in Afghanistan and led 20 troops. He was huge. He's done everything. And he said, Karen, he said, some of these may be targets, but he said the ones that are moving around, they're not anything like targets. He said, I think they're ETs. And I said, oh, my gosh. And we have it all on camera and all on the pictures. So that was my journey to Area 51 because we couldn't, get in. So that's why I'm all excited to hear about all this. So I think we're all connected, and I think the ETs are connecting us for some reason with all this.
So I know TJ's story, but I'm not wanting to push you, TJ. But we'll do a series of shows.
I would love to hear
deeper into TJ's rabbit hole. But she's very involved with Area 51 and Roswell. And I'll just say this: I've been in the underground base at Johnston Atoll, and
really?
TJ's been in several of the bases. I haven't been. I'm not aware of having been in Area 51, but you don't always know where you are. Right? When they take you, you're just somewhere. You could be
Janet, they took you underground because we have the under the shelf of the U.S. we have the submarine bases, right?
How did you get under there, Janet? How did they let you in?
Never mind.
Well, tell Karen about how the Roswell craft can just.
Yeah, tell me about that. Tell me about all of it.
They can just go through walls and open. They're sentient. The Roswell craft is sentient, conscious. See, that's one thing.
Sentient beings,
A lot of
right.
the witches, they're actually sentient conscious beings, right? So do you want to tell her a little bit about Roswell and Gus?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Well, I didn't even tell Preston Nichols when he came on because I wanted to talk more about his Brookhaven, but he was real scared shitless to talk about that stuff. But Al Bielek was one of the futurists, and Duncan Cameron. Yeah, Duncan Cameron. So, but now Preston wrote a book in 1995, and that's when I met Tom, my husband. I thought for the first time. So the reason Janet knows the story is it is an ET story. And then we worked off planet in what Janet calls the UFO Secret Space. And she and I have the UFO Secret Space group in Facebook, but we don't put a lot of stuff yet. We got to get through 2020 in Las Vegas, and they're trying to keep us from going with this COVID. Because, see, I was supposed to show up and tell the story off the planet, like my Andromeda Galaxy, and working in the quadrant like Guardians of the Galaxy so people would understand the secret space program, right? But from 67 with Intelligence Agency and ACIR, and then I got out of it in 87, so I met my husband in 95, and he and I were prepared with Stanton Friedman and the government to go public in 97. But the Bob and John Lear and Bob Lazar sort of messed that up. But I thought, well, at least it's out. That was like 89. So we were all part of that, all of it. But the ETs have their own.
I know all those names. Go ahead.
Oh, good. But the program that I was involved with started Star Wars 85, and I was what they call reactivated in a second level of a 4x10 in a uniform, which you can appreciate. So Fort Hood, I got reassigned from Hawaii. I went out where Janet is and did my extraterrestrial spiritual work and started that path. Yeah, so 84 till 95. But when I met Tom in 95, it changed my life. April 3rd, 1995. We got married in 2000, but we were together 5 years before that. But we really were together and back. But the part that Janet wants me to talk about is she knows. Janet, I got that ACE guide done for you. I'll write them when she can talk me into it. I wrote that in Janet Development.
Let me help you.
Okay.
You're starting to get scattered.
I get panicky when I.
We noticed. But see, this is part of, and I'll talk to Karen because you're a hypnotherapist and you've worked with people. Okay, so people that have been in the military and the secret space program, they get programming put in, and I don't want to offend you. We all have it. If we've been abducted, contacted, we get their mind wiped. Okay, so the ETs or the military, they're both very. They have expertise in how to mind wipe and compartmentalize your brain, and they make Manchurian candidates. And so what's happening is there's blocks in people. So when you hypnotize people, you'll encounter the blocks. And I know you have, right? And Preston Nichols and Doug Cameron and Al Bielek and Stuart Swerdlow, I work with Stuart extensively, and they tried to uncover and deprogram themselves from the mind blocks that they had. So,
we remember it, but we're just not allowed to talk about it.
No,
it's to remember it.
Remember it. TJ, sometimes it's completely blocked because they compartmentalize your brain. So, Preston Nichols was working a job as an accountant, and one day he went down the wrong corridor in the underground facility in Montauk. And when he uncovered, as he walked down the corridor, a soldier, saluted him.
Was a what? Okay, that's what the video or whatever you called it back then. That's what Preston Nichols sent me a copy of, and he didn't even know who I was. Isn't that weird?
Dang.
Okay.
Everything that was underground,
and I couldn't get it. And he wouldn't share it with me.
And here we talk.
Okay.
I'm telling you, they're connecting us right this minute.
So
I'm glad you're a believer because I believe like that
too.
Oh,
let me finish this little thread right here. Wait, stop. I got to finish this piece. This is what happened. We get excited and we don't get the whole story. So he ended up walking in down further the hallway. You know, he had to be cool because this guy's saluting him like he's the head of something, right? So he eventually gets brave enough and he walks down the corridor and he finds a door with his name on it, and he goes in and there's a desk and he has a picture of his wife and children. Okay, so they compartmentalize your brain. He didn't know that he was the head of the whole Montauk project. He just thought he was an accountant. And I believe it was Preston Nichols. I don't think it could have been, no, I don't think it was Duncan Cameron. Duncan Cameron was on the chair.
Duncan Cameron, they was supposed to have been abused down there.
Well, they were all kind of abusing and abused because that's how they fracture your mind.
Right.
I got
create
sick.
Altars.
Mm-hmm. I got sick with men in white coats. So it's not that I don't remember it. It's I don't want to share it. So that's the part that Janet thinks I'm blocked.
That's the point that I was trying to say, is that TJ, I think, and this is not just you two, do. I've worked with dozens of them.
I worked with some grays,
of
okay?
people
I'll
that
just
have
say
been,
it there.
Okay, let me just say this. Let me just say this about programming. Is when you're working with somebody and they have these blocks, then it makes them kind of babble their language and they start going all over the place. And it's like, oh, okay, I got to get them back. Because that's, if you grab the conversation, you just go,
yeah, she's worked with me 8 years. She still doesn't know very much.
I think we get so excited. I think that's part of the ET energy working up. You know?
So what
we get
TJ
so
was TJ ended up working with Gus, which is the ship from Roswell.
Oh.
And that's a whole
that's
story.
what you wanted to talk about. See, I already forgot. So she is right. It's not that I don't know it. It's I think what she calls blocks is, I call it, when I start talking about it, what I always called, Kieran, because I was born and died and had ETs and the little orbs visit me like Wizard of Oz when I was a little kid, so she knows you don't know the story. And then I got up out of a hospital and went to White Sands. So I literally, as a kid, with the extraterrestrial help, are the little white orbs, because they can go in orbs or they can materialize. So they told me I was going to go to White Sands, and so I willed my aunt and uncle to take me out there. And then, lo and behold, I found out that my uncles work out there at Los Alamos. So there's no coincidence that I know a UFO spacecraft named Gus. But we called him Gus because I am always big about acronyms, like ACE is for Alien Civilizations Exist. Ergo, my book, beautiful. ACE Guide. But if you don't know that ACE Guide stands for Alien Civilizations Exist Guide, you know, you got to pretty much get it from me. I don't know that I spell it out in the book.
Good. That's probably a better way to do it, really. That's great.
And then the part she wanted me to talk about is GUS is an acronym for Galaxy Universal Shuttle. So I planned on telling who I am and my reality and why I'm extraterrestrial, but so many people hate people like me because they think we're special, and we don't. We just died, and we're called avatar masters, or bodhisattvas, or, you know, there's all kind of words for people like us.
I know it.
So I'm not any different than a whole bunch of, it's just the government didn't want people to know how much they knew about extraterrestrials and interdimensional travel. It was supposed to be a secret. So, you know, we have interstellar and extrastellar, or, you know, and I did, Janet, remember the one, my daughter died, but before she died, the extraterrestrials created an event here in town, which is hard to believe, just for us, and we just went down there, and so my daughter is, what is it? In Navarre, Navarre.
Okay, so you're in Gulf Breeze, so Navarre.
Yeah.
You're staying down here. People don't know
where 13 miles.
Here is.
It's 13 miles one road. My daughter literally walked. I'm in the panhandle of Gulf Florida. It's a ET Mecca for the real ones, and we've got 8 military bases, but we're real safe here.
Are you near Denton?
I don't
are you in Florida?
Yeah, I'm in the panhandle of Florida. I'm between Pensacola. Naval Air Force Base. I'm just across the 3 Mile Bridge from Pensacola Air Force Base. And then my sister's husband worked at Fort Walton in the Air Force Base there in medical. So she lived down the street. So and my kids lived here, and my daughter, E.T., she was more E.T. than I am, I think. But
Wow.
My husband, me, and her were known by the government to have DNA in us, and then the ETs told us. So, but when I was talking to Janet, I told her about one of our 30 by 30s, and then one time Janet's real psychic, but she she wants to know all truth from every part and put her own story together. And I admired that, but I didn't have to do that. I mean, I was already born into it and then investigator and taken where I needed to be by the ETs. But you just can't tell that to everybody because they think you're crazy.
Well, that's the trouble I have, too, you know.
Yeah.
Clinical hypnotherapist and all the medical people I know, and I finally got one doctor to listen to Eben Alexander, who's a neurosurgeon, who's trying to tell people about afterlife after he was in a coma. And when one took it and wanted to see it, it's on my timeline. It's the best video of afterlife I've ever seen, and he's trying to get to the medical field. So yeah, I know what you mean. It's a struggle for me too, and you know, because we don't want to be called crazy, and people just don't know. And that is, I'll just say this one thing and I'll be quiet. That's why we're having to go through all this stuff right now, because the energies of the masses of the planet are not seekers. They're still sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, Janet knows the ETs told me to do what I did, and then I have this higher handler of a god or a demigod or Jesus. I call him Jesus because whenever I met my husband in 95, there was a gold light that made me change the world, and I was working with the government and all the intelligence agencies, and I made a corporation go big worldwide before we had the internet, and it wasn't easy, and I had all the multimillionaires interested in me and all this, and I went to Spain and Portugal, and I went through a portal, and I wound up in Africa, and I went to Africa, and I wound up in Hawaii. I was going, what the crap? So I believe in...
TJ,
you sound like me.
Wait. We need to unpack this because you haven't said this before. And you do what I call download, but humans can't take downloads too fast, right? Especially people are trying to listen.
Well, you've been with me 8 years. You know a little bit.
I still have to slow you down, TJ. You're like a bucking bronco, and you're running wild. So you're saying
it's that
ET
you energy.
Went into, I know. But people don't understand it, and they go, I can't understand what TJ said. So
I think I do it all the time.
I literally
God,
there's
somebody like me.
I have worked as an interpreter. I have worked as an interpreter with extraterrestrials and humanity in the military because that's what it is. The extraterrestrials operate at a much higher frequency. And so they're talking.
Why were you so shy when I met you? You were so shy. You were scared of me.
You know,
you're still scared of me in some ways.
I'm not scared of anybody. I'm not scared of anybody. But
well, why were you so shy? You wouldn't talk.
No, I'll answer the question if you let me. If you come in all cocky and arrogant, you don't give any information. You're quiet. That's when people open up to you. If I came in and like taking over. And that's why you come in like you're taking over and people don't talk to you. But when you're...
I'm 5'11". I was called 6 feet military. I know how to be where you can't see me, too. I was trained in San Antonio.
They purposely put me in human form at 5'2", and I was, most of my adult life, I was under 105 pounds. Until I
you came in as a fae. You're a little.
Yeah.
You're a little.
I was little. I barely could see me. And but I asked. I said, "Why did you put me in this form? I don't get any respect. People think I'm a child." And they said because we don't want you to show. It's not like shine too bright. We don't want you to get noticed. I said, "Well, I'm not getting noticed." But that's okay, because they were protecting me, because there are those who want to take us out, and there are others who don't want the story up. But let me just say this to you.
And I'm a shy introvert in a huge body with a huge ego, I guess.
Wait. I'll pass the 60s. Let me finish this thread of consciousness, because I want Karen to understand this. I've been sitting on the Rosetta Stone, the true story of Roswell, as far as we can prove it, right? There's no about truth, but a variation of Roswell. and what happened in 47. And I'll summarize it real quick. But I can't quite get it out there because I can't get it a concise story. TJ has put little pieces here and there, but it doesn't make sense when you find a piece here and there. We have to do the big comprehensive book.
I did eventually. I told you I don't want to go to Leavenworth.
The whole modern UFO field is founded on the Roswell story. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but it's the Roswell story. TJ
That's why we had Lawrence Spencer write it.
No, he didn't.
And we had Philip Corso.
No, we
Strom
didn't.
Thurmond called me about that. Remember, Strom Thurmond wanted the story out too, but in his own.
Strom Thurmond is J Morris's.
Be careful now. That's be careful.
Your
blood.
uncle or something, somehow blood. That's And Strom Thurmond lived to be over 100, and he's one of the most powerful people in Congress. But I didn't like Strom Thurmond because he was a racist.
He wanted the truth out, though,
Janet.
Janet.
He had children with black people. So he was a racist.
So what? That's just a color. That's just melanin in the skin. I got grandkids black, so.
I do too. I don't have any children, but I have nieces and nephews.
I don't notice any color at all. I think we're all the same.
I don't see color.
There are also those out there that are blue too that are our friends.
Blue.
But when I was a child, I didn't
mentioning.
Like okay, let me just.
Well, you don't like my uncle, but he's dead now.
I didn't like racist people because I grew up.
He wasn't racist.
Okay, let's stop.
No, back in that time, the whole world was.
Okay, but you don't understand who I am.
My dad had to suffer for that just because our name was Thurmond.
Stop. You don't let me talk. I'm going to finish and then I'll pass the talking stick, okay? Because now I'm not even on the topic anymore. The topic was Roswell. And so stop talking over me, please, okay? This is not a show. We talk over it.
I'll be nice.
Boo-boo.
I'm sorry. I'll be nice. I'll be good. I'm sorry.
We never get a show done. We're looking like a bunch of idiots. Come on.
Well, I know, but I like Karen. She had fired me up.
I like Karen
I'll mute. Go ahead.
Let's not be bad in front of her. Be nice. Be nice.
I love you guys. Okay. I understand y'all. I'm watching good interdimensional pictures with you guys. It's fun.
So Karen, you travel in the UFO industry field. You get to be at conferences. I've been at conferences. And I'm not sure how we're ever going to get this story out there because I know all the details. And then there's some I don't know. But basically, Roswell was not a crash. And Grant Cameron said that he came to a conclusion. He said, we can never take down ET because they know what we're thinking before we think it. That's how psychic they are. They can see 10 steps before we do. So the Roswell craft, there were two of them. It was delivered intentionally, like a what do you call it? A Trojan.
We had to be within 6 feet.
And there were 5 of them. There were 5 of them delivered. And then you tell your piece. Let me just finish this.
4.
Then we'll pass it back to TG. I thought you said there was 5. There's 4 or 5. See, this is like a.
There were two. There's 2 in a craft. The 30 by 30s Gus is made for 2. They're the light dolls, we call them, are the people, the little grays that we think about because they work with the tall whites in space because they don't have any melanin because, unless they come down here, and it's a long story. But anyway, there was 2 to each craft. The 30 by 30s is what we call them because no matter if you go inside or out, they measured tape 30 by 30. But one dropped off the one that came off of the big, I guess you call it the mothership, and the other one was supposed to come down and pick the 2 up, the 2 little grays that basically are... They know they're made and they're okay with that. They serve their purpose. They died.
You have 2 crafts.
And so one was injured and one was like me.
You have 2 crafts.
And one was Errol, which is like me.
Wait. Let me just explain this because how you said it was backwards English. In order to deliver 1 craft, you have to have 2 crafts because you're going to pick up the 2 ETs that are dropping the craft off, and then 4 go back up to space, right? So they had 2 crafts coming down. They delivered the first craft, but the other craft blew up. take it from there, TJ. What happened?
That's the one. That's the one. That's the famous Roswell that we found out. Me and Tom off planet on the video, like Karen's picking up in her head how the ETs work with you.
Yeah, I'm seeing
but
them
if you're
right
gonna
there.
talk,
I'm watching it.
Well, when it came down and we set the 30 by 30 down, then, you know, the two guys get in the other craft that was supposed to go back, right? And that one actually stayed on the ground, too. So we have one intact that they took into the mountain, and we had the one that imploded and killed the two that, you know, fell out, and because it exploded, but it hit something. But we didn't. It wasn't supposed to implode. So it wasn't that our government shot them down. BS. It's not possible. It's not. Come on, guys. If they travel, you know, out of the stellar, you think electricity or lightning or something we make? Come on, you know, how hubris. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so it imploded, and we don't know why it imploded. Okay, we don't know, and that's what my people off planet, ET people, more than I am in human form, said. So it imploded. We don't know why. It came right off the factory because we make them in space. And so when we're making, we have a whole big mothership that does nothing but, you know, carry the animals or carry the trees or make the equipment to come down here. But it was like, we call it a Trojan horse because of the old history of how we learned. So when you're watching this, you know, they just watch us like entertainment, like the Truman Show or whatever that was called. So we're their entertainment, you know. But that happened, and it became part of their story as well as our story. And unfortunately, I get to be one of the past lifers called Errol. But I also have a past life in Tibet as working with those up there. So go figure. So I figured that a lot of this has to do with
I think they're getting a kick out of listening to us. Yeah, they watch us. Even they're watching us right now, and they're loving it, and they're just laughing and like a bunch of kids. You know, they're enjoying the fact that we're connecting and we're getting their messages. Y'all know that.
I'm wondering why they put us in 2020. It's funny because I went on a show by myself, which I haven't ever done and I just found it last night. And now today's May 15th. And that show I talked about today, and I had no clue what was going to happen today. But I told people that came in on TJ Morris ET Radio Show that May 15th. Now I know what it was about. It was about the three of us getting together today. Us getting together. We're talking truth.
We're all talking. We're all recognizing and identifying the first part of it. It's like puzzles, and we're all connected. We're all connected for this mission to bring and to help bring this disclosure. By goodness, I mean it's got to come. And if people don't wake up with what's going on here, then I don't know. We've got such a beautiful planet. I mean, I'm in love with the Keys, you know. I mean, I'm a real big dolphin research person, and I would live down there with the dolphins if I could. But I
love dolphins.
I have my babies down there.
Oh. How many babies did you have?
You had your babies underwater? How many did you have?
No, I have my babies are dolphins. The ones that are down there. One of them's 45.
I had 4 girls.
No, I don't have any human babies. I have dolphins that I go see down there that are like babies to me. They're like my children. No, I haven't had any dolphins.
Whales and dolphins were confirmed to me personally. So if I ever tell everything I know, which will be really hard, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to put what I know to be my reality. It's just my story.
Karen's here to help.
Really?
But I have to ask you something. Well, wait. It'll unveil itself to us if we patient. That's one of our big lessons is patience. But I have to go back up because you load these bombs. It's like a big turd bomb. And then you go to something else. I want to go back to the turd bomb. You said that you were on some radio show, and then you talked about May 15, 2020. What did you say on what radio show?
I don't know. Somehow Karen can explain it maybe because she's a hypnotherapist. I don't know, but I'll just sound like a crazy woman. That whatever that higher superconscious that the ETs keep from me or let me be, or because they tell me I can't handle it all because our little human brain, so they never give it all to me, which even though I died, I kept dying, and they kept bringing me back. So I started wanting answers.
So you don't know what radio show it was?
It was my
show. Oh, it was
because I pay
show.
for it. This one.
Okay.
It's,
okay. I thought you said you were interviewed by somebody else. It's so
no,
not the one you weren't interviewed by somebody else.
I was by myself.
One that you found on TJ Morris Radio, and you were talking on TJ Morris Radio about May 15th, 2020. What did
I didn't
you
remember
say
making
about,
it. It was conscious
What
something.
did you say about May 15th, 2020?
I remember telling these girls, maybe it was Roswell, the end of the world video. I don't know, but I told them because they were calling in at the 1st of April or something, but I told them to wait till May 15th. It was about 6 weeks. I don't know. I didn't know. Okay, let me tell Karen. Karen, I'm a psychic channel. Okay, I'm like a psychic medium. I used to learn this channel.
No, you just have a lot of ET. You just have a lot of ET energy going through you right now, and it's really jubilant and wonderful, and it's excited, and we're all kind of like on a high, and they're just loving it.
Yeah, that's what I get.
They're just putting the little puzzles together, and they're loving
Janet. But sometimes
Janet.
they won't let me.
Well, that's because
sometimes they won't let me.
I think we don't let ourselves because I think the human part of us, and I know it's this way with me, is that, I could tell a lot. But, I don't want people in the conventional realm to think that, I'm real weird, and I think we all are like that. And I try to work on that. I've done all my family of origin on the earth plane. I've done it on the other planes. I've done it in my Akashic records. But this part of my earth self goes, my goodness, I can't be just too weird. People, the mass public, don't understand it. They think we're all nuts. They don't, and then they get to where they don't respect us. I don't care if anybody thinks I'm nuts or not, but I would like some respect because I've worked hard in this field for all my life, just like Janet has and you have. And that's what we want. We just want to be respected and, not treated like idiots. That's what it is. And it makes us a little...
I coined it Ascension Age on my show, but Janet put up UFO Secret Space, but she's more out than I am. But that's okay. I've got the UFO Secret Space group on Facebook.
When is your birthday, TJ?
The day after Christmas.
Oh, you're a Capricorn.
51.
Yeah. Well, you're my age.
51.
Yeah. So I'm a Sagittarius. I'm on the 19th, and I was born in 50. So we're all about the same age.
Right. Nice.
Yeah, you were here before I got here.
But I tried coming in 2 years earlier, and my mother aborted me. She miscarried me, but she didn't treat me. So I knew I had to come in time to be at a decent age to meet Sasha, because he's 14 years older than me, but it was going to be 12 years older than me. But I remember, so that's why my mother was freaked out, because she knew who I was. She had taken me out, and my mother tried to kill me 8 times. So I've had 8 near-death experiences at the hand of my mother. But I just kept coming back. And the time I was choked, when I was 7, she choked me when I was 4. I was orally raped. It was really horrendous. And this is what they do. They switch through the altars. And I was on the other side. And my guides came and said, well, do you want to stay dead? And so I'm watching, like on 3 cameras running around, and I'm seeing everything. The sweat, everybody's yelling, sweat off their brow. There was all this fighting going on because my mother was beating up the guy who had raped me, and they called the neighbor in because they were so upset, and they tried to revive me with some kind of, I don't know if I knew CPR back in the 50s, but I was 4 years old, so I was born 54, so I was 58. Anyway, while that was going on, the guide said, well, do you want to stay here? And they showed me timelines. And they said, if you stayed here, this happened. So in one timeline, my mother went to jail. In another timeline, my father got so upset he killed this guy. His name is Harry. And then another one, my older brother was so distraught because nobody ever, what do I want to say? He couldn't get over the death of his baby sister, right? And the same thing with my sister. She ended up so distraught. So they showed me 4 major timelines which were not favorable for my family. And I said to them, okay, well, I can't do that to those people. I need to come back in. So they said, well, here's how you fix your neck. Your neck is broken. You need to fix your neck before you come back into the body. You can't re-enter it when it's damaged like that. So they showed me how to fix my body. And they had been trying to revive me, but they gave up. And so they said, okay, we're going to go call the police and you guys have to turn yourself in because she's dead and she's not coming back. So they were starting to leave the room, and that's when I decided to come back. And so my body was on the floor. It was kind of twisted. I was face down. My hair was all ruffled. But as soon as the energy came into the body, I jumped right up, and I threw my hands up, and I literally glowed like Jesus Christ, right? And I said, hi, because I was full of the love of God and the universe and consciousness, and I was an enlightened being, and it's like I had total forgiveness, and nothing was wrong. Everything was divine perfection. And they turned around and saw me glowing like some kind of little E.T., and they screamed, and they ran out the door. And I said, oh, cool, I made the dog run away. And then I felt really tired because the energy of that vibratory frequency was way higher than 3D Earth. And so I started to really integrate into the body and had been through trauma. So this all happened in my bedroom. I had this really big room across the front, and they gave it to baby Janet because nobody wanted to be in the haunted room. And it was very haunted, and I had to deal with that on my childhood. But I was so tired from adjusting the energy, I crawled into bed, and I forgot about it. It's called the kune. But I could never have oral sex, so I knew there was something going on. What? No. I knew there was something hidden in my deep subconscious. So, I couldn't have oral sex with my husband. So that was a problem. His husbands want you to do something like that, right? So that created a lot of drama in my life. But here I am. And so that was not the first time I saw the timeline. So when I was 4, before this episode, so that was probably in like August of that year, in the spring, when the buttercups and the little spring flowers were just starting to form, I was picking flowers for my mother in the side yard. So in the 50s, you could let your little kid outside and you could keep an ear on them, but nothing would happen. I was in my own yard. And I started understanding the concept of God, but that was because I was having constant experiences with extraterrestrials, so I called them gods. Right? I didn't know. I was trying to integrate what was going on in my human life with what was happening as an experiencer. So I was just singing songs to God, and I picked some flowers, and as soon as I came around the bend and I was going to go into the house, there was a little tiny 1-foot tall fence there because my mom was trying to keep people from walking on her garden. And I stepped over it, and mid-step, they took me up on the mothership. So there was no, being disappearing in front of me. They just beamed me up. So, or not even really, it wasn't like the transportation and having to see the Earth retract. It was just, just like in Star Trek. They wanted me, they beamed, I was on board the ship. And so they gave me like a tour of the ship. They welcomed me back, so I was part of them, and they took me into a theater. But they were very sensitive about the human form that I had agreed to incarnate in. So they took me into the theater, and then they made it something that I could understand. It was like and I had never been in the movie theater, right? But, I understood chairs and all that stuff. So I'll talk that. They wanted me to sit in the front row in the center, so I did. And as soon as I was comfortable, this large screen, started to show these images of the 24 potential future history timelines that would happen that were kind of variations on this theme that we have right now. So the first one showed the total destruction of the planet. It blew up. And then the next one was slightly better, and there were 24. So it went from the worst scenario to the best scenario. and we're experiencing this potentiality right now. When they were showing it, it was more than showing it. There was an image on the screen, but there was everything in my mind, like you're seeing right now. But it was also sensual, so I could smell it. I could see everything happening simultaneously across the planet. I'm not sure how it is. It's like if you were God, you could see all of existence all at once. But humans were separately. We can kind of only see linearly, or one at a time, or a small range. But I was able to see it all, comprehend it all, and feel it all. So I was weeping by the time it was over. And then they showed me utopian ones. They said, which one do you want? The theater went dark, and then which one do you want to choose? And what they were saying is I was choosing for all humanity. And then since I'm human, I went, what? No, I can't choose for all humanity. Well, just choose one. So I chose the third one from the utopian and continuum part, and there's a continuum, and it was so it would leave enough left to do, right? As soon as I made the choice, I was once again back in my body, and I was finishing the step. Now, when I took my first step, it was high noon. The sun was really bright. It was straight up. When I put them down, when they returned me, they'd step, they returned me, the sun was setting, and the sky was just full of these tremendous colors. And then they said, and this is what they do. They say, you have come here to do something which would benefit all of mankind, all of humankind. That's what they use, humankind. And I felt such joy, in relation that my life had been in purpose. So, but then as I started to walk in the house, we returned with people who I told my family. I said, I realized that I can't tell these people anything because they'll react negatively. They won't get it. So I didn't tell them, but I never, ever, ever forgot. So that was not blanked out in any way, shape, or form. So
that's hello.
I just want to say one thing. In '63, when they did the Montauk, the 20-year anniversary of the Montauk, or the Philadelphia experiment, when they were in Montauk, the timeline got changed. So we were on a real positive timeline from 58 to 63. And then they hijacked it. And then that shortly after Kennedy was shot, then we were on a timeline, but the other Kennedy was shot, Martin Luther got. So we're about like a hijacked timeline. Okay, whoever wants to take this, I'm passing the donkey stick. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I was seeing a beautiful, fabulously interesting thing. That's what I see from the third dimension, beyond the third dimension. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Do you have a question or comment, either of you? Either of you any questions or comments? TJ, you started to say something, right? Or was that Karen?
Well, Karen was talking just now.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we're all here, Janet. And I get you, Janet, that I know because I've known you longer than anybody that I can talk to. But, Janet and Karen, what it is she and I were contractors, but I was wearing a uniform and she wasn't. But we met at a psychic fair, but we also met at Spiritual World Network the Sunday before. And anyway, she was with a guy, but we met a long time ago in Hawaii. It's no coincidence, but we don't like the word Stargate because we weren't working with Russell Targ and all the famous people from the Brookings Institute, or the way that the government made them seem. Who was it? What was that other guy that Tommy worked with? The guy that bent spoons and all that stuff. Well, they took it
Yuri
public.
Geller?
When the government, Yuri Geller.
That's who David worked with. Yeah.
Now, see, David, you said that my brother's name was David.
David St. Clair was he was a real author. I met him when Robert and I separated in 1976. And we did research in all these countries. He was a time and life reporter, and he lived in Brazil for 20 years, and he worked for their sister company called Manchetti. And then he became a published author, and he was president of the Parapsychological Research Society in Los Angeles back in the 60s. And he has a big book out now that everybody has. It's really all of his books are really old. It's called Instant ESP. So, he may be so old when we're all the good guys, we're all the old timers, people don't even know who they are anymore. But
right.
He has a lot of his books in Library of Congress, and I have his page. Excuse me. I have his page tied to my website and my thing, so you can read about him. So I don't know how we started talking about him, but I think
Uri Geller.
Oh yeah, Uri Geller. He was at a dinner party with Uri when he lived in London, and he had dual citizenship with England and the United States. And so that's all. I've never met Uri.
Well,
so,
you said something else. Oh, do you know that you and I are both with Best Psychics Directory?
Oh, you mean at Bob Olson?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either till Janet sent me something, but I saw a logo on the bottom left. Maybe it was your webpage.
I don't ever hear much from them at all. Do you?
I don't either.
It's really strange, and in fact, I don't know what this means, but automatically they charge, and I don't know that I've been charged for the past couple of months. I don't know that I have or I haven't. So.
Well, I put in, and then they got me a gig with ABC Television back when Stanton Friedman was in my life, and called my mama. And ABC Television, no, it was the producers in New York. And then I did a psychic reading for one of their shows, ABC Wife Swap. And then they said because I was accurate by doing what they wanted me to do, read this people that they had out of Chicago, some shaman. They were swapping with somebody where I lived in Kentucky. They said they got me off of LinkedIn through the Best Psychic Directory, and I was like, okay. But then I was working with Stanton Friedman, but they had me it didn't make any sense. They were videoing me at night pointing up to UFO sky like they were. I don't understand what they did with what they put in the can of the video.
Who was videoing?
It was the producers. The producers. I don't know who they were. They were a team that puts a little mic on you.
White Swap. Now,
well, I've
White
never
Swap,
heard very much from them. I very seldom do I hear anything. But one of my managers said I need to stay on there for the Google deal. So I don't know.
What's a manager? What kind of manager do you have? Like a California publicist or a Dallas publicist?
Terrible allergies.
Me too. The sign of ET involvement.
Derek's really my manager, but I have Carolyn who does my website and stuff like that, and she's the one who helped me set up with the Bob Olson, and so I don't even really hear from anybody, and I don't think anybody really hears much, so I don't know.
Well, why don't we talk about something more relevant instead of some psychic necklace? We have a half hour.
I like that St. Clair guy.
Time just flies when we're having a good time, doesn't it, girl?
So let's do something relevant.
Well, why don't we do this again, Janet?
Wait, let's finish this one. We're still on this one. We'll talk about doing another one next time. All right, off air. We got half an hour. Let's make it really count.
Okay, hey, why don't we talk about the
Karen,
time today? I'd like to talk about the transition our planet's in right now.
Go for it. You go for it, girl.
I think that I think that people need to. I think they need to do the mask. I think they need to do the gloves. And my prediction is that if people don't watch it, it's going to come back full blast around, I would say, September, October.
Mm-hmm.
We're in kind of a waiting period right now. I think it's terrible, everything that's happened. I saw this 3 years ago, and I told Janet that on her show. It's a long story, and I won't repeat it because it's a long story. But I thought it was, I did the same thing in another, out of space, in another star system. A friend and I went through and saw this whole thing, and we were dressed up in these white things that you see up in the front lines in New York, and I was connecting it with military, and was asking her at the time, I thought, how come that the medical stuff looks like military? Well, we didn't really know. Now we know, because the frontliners that are risking their life, the nurses, the doctors, all the health people, are really the frontliners, and we are. It's a type of a war. It's a war against this virus. And, you know, there are many reasons why it's happening. I'm not going to get into anything. I think the politics down here have no idea what we're talking about. I think it goes way beyond that. And I think that in a way it's an opportunity for our planet and the people who inhabit it to wake up and start thinking about life, death, the path. What's beyond the theater? What's beyond the play? This is a play. It's one play, but we're eternal. We're forever. But this is one of our plays. But most people in the conventional realm see this as that's all there is. That's all they're wired for. And so if they make light of it and don't try to protect themselves, then all their electromagnetic fields will keep producing. See, we're down in here in the middle of all this. Many people who are light workers, who are ET experiencers, we've come in here for this time. And it's all having to do with the polar shift and everything, climate change, the whole thing. And the masses and their energy, in my opinion, are attracting in the likeness of environmental manifestation of where they are. And so we're coming down here with our energies, getting clobbered, trying to help out, having weird things happen, this, that, and the other, and all the other stuff. And so we get very emotional. People who are empathic get extremely emotional and sensitive. And we're picking up, we have to be careful and keep the light around us at all times, because otherwise we become a screen, like a vent, and we're venting through all these other things. So that's what, in my opinion, we're here to do. Now, how far we're coming along, I'm not sure. You know, I think that people, it's just like 9/11. People were really devastated in the beginning, and then it wore off so quickly. And so this is worse than that. And I think if people would just stay put for a while, something would happen, and then it would be over. But my concern is that they're not, and this is just kind of an interim stage, and then it's really going to get bad. And so I do think something in the end will save it. I think that there will be a vaccine, or it will just fade away, or whatever. I don't think it's just going to fade away. But I do see there being an outcome to it. But we're just kind of right in it right now. You know, it's not over.
Well, I've got a couple downloads on this. Whenever you're ready to pass the talking stick. I want the talking stick next. Well, I want the talking stick next because I got some downloads on this.
Okay.
So when you're complete, I don't want
yeah,
to
that's just all I had to say.
Okay.
Right.
So I got 2 downloads this past week, or maybe one was last week. So it's about intentionality. It's not the story. It's not all this conspiracy stuff. It's about your intention. So if you go out and you catch diseases and you kill yourself and kill other people, that's your intention, right? And we don't really know what's going on, but people are catching the disease and they are dying, and they're spreading it, and it's spreading like wildfires.
That's
and
right.
And it spreads as soon as you open up a city, a town, a location, their cases go up exponentially, and they go up from 10 to 300 overnight, and it's like, what is going on here? So if you're going out and you're being careless, you're intending to suicide and kill the people. And that's what we work on in psychology. We go, well, some people, you know, if you smoke and you know you're going to die of cancer and yet you still keep smoking, well, then you're suicidal. It's not, you don't have to put a gun to your head. You're suicidal. And if you know that your actions can take people with you, you're murderous. So this is a karmic thing. So you can call it what you want here on this level, but when you're on the other side, you go, oh, shit, I just killed myself, and I just killed Grandma, my daughter, and, you know, my cousin, right? So you're going to face your karma. But the other thing is that I've been studying this, but the ETs downloaded. They said No, this is not going to go away. This is like HIV, and this is like the measles. So what this time is about is reconnecting our DNA. The Anunnaki turned off our DNA. We have, because we have Anunnaki DNA, our potential is physical immortality. But they, years ago, and I've written 5 books on the Anunnaki, is they did not want us to live the extreme longevity because they wanted to control the planet. So they intentionally turned off our DNA. It's like on-off. It's like a computer program. They turned off the longevity switch. They turned off the switch which allows us immunity to all diseases. And the other thing is they intentionally, in one of their wars between Ananda and Marduk, they introduced biochemical warfare. And a lot of this stuff has gone dormant, and it's under, big jungles and forests. But as we expand our population, when I was born, there were 3 billion people. We have, almost 8 billion people. So we're going where we shouldn't be going, and we're stirring up these old ancient viruses, and they are biochemical warfare. They're designed to depopulate, and they're doing what they were designed to do.
Yeah, so I believe that. So the final thing, and then I'll pass this off to you, Six, is that they said, well, we've got to go in genetically and reactivate that physical immortality, extreme longevity, and immunity to diseases. Otherwise, humanity is going to get really wiped out. Like the Anunnaki. When the Anunnaki came here, their population had been devastated. And so we were their hope. So it's going to be some kind of intervention. But I think that it's really weird because deep within me, I was a geneticist in a past life. And so I have this understanding. But I don't know how to do the ABCs. So I'm thinking maybe if I get in there and do a course or something. But, it's really hard to wrap your head around all this stuff. No, I agree with you on everything you're saying. I really do. I see this. Of course, the average public doesn't know what we're talking about, but all we can do is to help them to see if they would just, secure themselves in place, safety in place, or secure in place. And I never see anybody. Well, whenever I go out to eat a sandwich under this tree, and this little sandwich shop brings it out to my car, and I never see anybody walking around. A lot of people walking, their dogs. Nobody's with a mask, and nobody's with a glove.
Right.
So it's almost like they, maybe there's a wiring. I don't know. Maybe there's a wiring, but I just know that, we're stable here in Texas. It's called stable by the map, and I think most states are, but only because for a time, and then it's going to ramp back up again probably in August and September.
Right.
And we all know that.
I'm going to look at the NCOV 2019 Live. It's like an ongoing calculator. It shows it's updated continually. So we're at 4.6 million people sick. Or have confirmed, and then we have 308,000 deceased, dead. We have
in the United States,
in the U.S., but the United States has 1,484,000 confirmed cases, and no, I'm sorry, let me get the right one. Yeah, here's the United States. 88,000 deceased, and we only had one, I think, or one or two. And the first case that died was in February, but they didn't acknowledge it as COVID until they did the biopsy. They did the autopsy.
Are you talking about in Hawaii?
No, in the United States.
In the United
States.
States.
The first case was in San Jose, and Santa Clara, and that was Lorian's conference, and I was calling people. I said, and I'm psychic too, right? And I said, oh my God, the virus is there, it's there. And so nobody believed me, and I said to my friends, be very careful, the virus is there already. I said, no, it's still on the virus. No, it's there. I don't know how it's there, but it's there. Be very careful. And so anyway, a lot of people were sick at that conference. I don't know if anybody died, but they, just like 2 weeks ago, said the very first COVID death in the United States was Santa Clara. right in the middle of February, right when I was calling them saying, it's there, please be careful, please be careful. So,
wow.
Anyway, that's how I'm psychic. I can't do readings like TJ does, but I just get things. And
I know you're
sometimes
psychic.
Scary when it pisses me off.
Well, people don't like to hear about this. We can talk about it among ourselves because we're all light workers, and we all have our DNA a little bit different. But, we're also down here to try to help this planet, and we're doing the best we can. And I just think we need to know that because I live this 24/7, and I know you guys.
Yeah.
And so
Texas is number 8 and Florida's number 9 in the U.S. with cases.
Oh.
Yeah.
I will ask you guys something that I'm interested in knowing about, and I'm not sure how to do it. But do any of you all know how to get your DNA tested for ET origin? Terry Ling did that, and it was on the George Gurry show with that. And she was on there with,
heard.
And I know Terry, and she had it done. And Cheryl Jones was on there with her. This was about a week ago. You can look it up on YouTube. But I was wondering how we could do that. And they literally scientifically went to a medical laboratory. See what you see on
I don't know. Do you know anybody? Do you know either of those people personally that you could send them an email?
Yeah, I know Terry.
Facebook?
I can call
Ask
Terry.
her. I'll do it.
I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah. Yeah, wouldn't that be fun?
Because when I came in, like TJ, we both had experiences going back to the crib. And when I came in, they said when I was 18 months old, I've been saying things way beyond my years, and my mother was freaking out. I was just talking too intelligently. So my mother would act out, and she thought she'd given birth to the demon seeds, and she was very, very Christian. And so she would act out and do things and try to hurt me. But
a lot of these people
ago,
around,
they said
a lot of them think it's of the dark or the devil, and it's silly. It's really sad.
But my poor mother probably was part of some rituals because she's I don't know, there were Masons on both sides. She was really having difficulties. And both of us saw the ghosts all through the house. She didn't know how to reconcile that. I was just like, I'd wake up and they'd be standing at the foot of my bed. Okay, you again. So my poor mother didn't know how to handle it. But that 18 months, they said, we're going to send you in here now. You got to behave. You got to be human. You got to behave. You got to be human. And so everybody came and said goodbye. There were just all kinds of beings. I can't even name them. I mean, some were like animals that we don't even have, right? And but they were humanoid. They were bipedal with posing and faces and noses and stuff like that. But they were all wonderful, beautiful. Everybody's beautiful. You can see. If you look in their eyes, if you do a puja, look in their eyes, you see all the ways.
Oh yeah.
All humans have the ability to go through the source if you can really go deep in the planet. So they said to them, and they said, and then this loud thunder. They said, you got to go be human, and it was loud thunder and a clap, and then I couldn't talk intelligent. I was babbled. I was, to protect me.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
So, TJ, what do you want to add to our thread that we're talking about right now about the pandemic and earliest interactions with ET? You were in your crib. What about the pandemic? What do you think about this pandemic?
Well,
Is it
Gigi,
a consciousness?
my daughter just died. She had an alien. Just so you know, Karen, my daughter got a type of cancer on her working from being closed painting. She had a real good clearance. But she died March 16th last year, 2019. So I just lost her.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry, honey.
It was hard because even the Nordics, the ones you mentioned, Billy Meyer, but there were some Nordics that came in from North. Yeah, and she and I worked with the Nordics here at the hospital and in the cancer center. And
wow.
admittedly so. Yeah, one was retiring and moving south, but she was really smart. But they took all her blood and plasma out, and they call them being reborn. She was in one of those, what do they call them? I've had it on the tip of my tongue. But what, trials. She was in a trial, and they rebirthed her. It was terrible to go through. She had cancer. I forgot the name of it. It's from chemicals. It's an acquired cancer from breathing in.
Mesothelioma? Is it
something like that?
It's a lung mesothelioma.
It has. It's. You can look her up. It's. Darn it, Gigi. Cowboy Cancer Cowgirl on YouTube. Cancer Cowgirl. She's got a red cowboy hat on. But it's from using chemicals in paints and stuff. It's real common. It's in the oceans, and but she got it from the chemicals. But I forgot the name. It's funny after a year, but now I'm blanking out because what happened. I mean, we talked about it constantly, Ty. But my point was that she went through and got rebirthed and given a new birthday in May coming up. I think it was May 17th, a couple of days. She would have had a new birthday. But she lived through it, and they thought they got rid of it. But unfortunately, by November, this was in 2017, and Janet, I had just met Janet, and Janet and I was going to do a conference in 2018. And by the time Janet had the conference put together in Albuquerque, I was back again for another big bout at Moffitt. And one alien gene, because you were talking about the DNA and COVID and all that, would not, it got caught. One little alien gene, of course they knew we were in, they knew who we were and stuff. It's hard to explain, but people know your blood. They know everything about everybody.
Sure they do.
But they had one little alien that was like an AI thing from another planet, and they knew it. And they talked to me and called me in about how did I make her. And they wanted the intelligence, and they brought in intelligence people from like Tyson or Langley or all those people came in. And then they brought people up from Europe and Brazil. But they talked to me about being in the intelligence agency and what I'd do for the Navy because they were interested in why she had this alien. Like you said, how do you know you got alien DNA? I know because I was told she had it, and I went through the grill. And Janet was talking to that guy with the funny hair with me, and they were listening to what me and Janet were saying in the conference room. So it was all about aliens, and Janet was at an alien conference with that Tompkins dude, and I met him in Dayton, Ohio, and then she brought Michael Sala on, and he knew this guy Tompkins, and then Ken Johnston, and I met Janet in May 2017. And it's so weird because it's like everybody in the medical field, in the government, in the intelligence agency, and the space agency, all knew who me and my daughter were and wanted to know about this alien and how I made her. So Janet was sort of right that all this stuff she's been bugging me about has to do with who we are on this planet and why some of us have more gene swaps than others. They call it alien DNA. Mm-hmm. But there's normal genes passed down from your parents when you're young, but there's also from panspermia or whatever it was. But see, the aliens I worked with said they found us here on this planet, so they're like Anunnaki. But, Janet, people argue with it because a lot of people don't know the true Sumerian clay tablet stories. But anyway, with me being a past lifer and dealing with the aliens and the Greys and how their story goes back universes and dimensions, nobody wants to know the truth because it just depends on what's been written. So they can only find the Sumerian and fire clay tablets. But we're now opening up to all that other stuff. But I was told to call it the Ascension Age, and I have such a long story with fire. But Karen, Janet said you were going to help us, so maybe you need to know because you asked how you could be tested. Just because they test you doesn't mean they don't find it, but they did find it in my daughter, and she still died. But my daughter promised me.
What was the name of the
she
test?
Was working.
I wonder what.
God, they take everything out of you.
No, I know, but I used to work with the doctor who was real famous at one time. before where they had PAs, I was kind of like that in the 80s. So I know a lot about medicine, but more I don't know about medicine. But I've always been curious about this one thing, because almost everybody I know that are like us who have this knowledge has a little kink in their blood DNA.
Yeah.
And there's not a name for it.
Well, that guy, the richest guy in the world, came along and bought, I know he found out about it because he's interested in space and aliens and what we can do to help them get into space.
Elon Musk, what's his name?
There's Elon Musk, Sir Richard Branson, and Jeff Bezos.
Which one?
Right.
Which one was it?
Well, they all work together. All three are going into space. Jeff Bezos bought our Ascension. Jeff Bezos bought our Ascension Center. He bought all of them. He's the richest man in the world, but he got mine, Gigi's, and my blood was tested down there. So he knows he's got the alien DNA in the Ascension files, Janet. He bought them.
Right.
So,
I know.
Yeah, but you asked me about that book, and somehow they've got it tied up between Google, Lulu. Google got it, and I don't know, it's on Google, but they've got the page. You can read 90 pages of my book. But Google, when I was a publisher, asked me for some books to put in their Google library. But you can't, I don't know how to buy it. I can't see it on Amazon. Yeah. How did they buy it? Because, see, I lost my files in my computer. Go ahead, Janet.
I'm on Ginger Parish. And
you found it.
I found it, but if you go on Facebook, there's all these pictures of Ginger Parish.
Who is Ginger Parish?
That's his daughter.
That's my daughter that died. The one that's an ET.
Let me go in here. Does she still? Are you
they
still
have it in the Thurmond. They have it in my Thurmond DNA.
No. Oh, well, okay. So the DNA, the Thurmond side. The side that had the Senator Thurmond has the DNA that has the. Yeah, that's why she was
DNA. Getting. Yeah, because he knew, and
so it's not from it's not from the father. It's not from her father. The DNA
it's from me.
From her father.
I'm the mother.
It came from you.
Me.
Okay. Do any of
your
other children? Do any of the other children have alien DNA?
Yeah, but I'm not allowed to talk about it because that was part of that Montauk, Brookhaven people.
Okay, well, that's perfect.
Do you still have her picture on FaceTime, Facebook, and I can read her picture?
Yes.
I can read sound, and I can read photos.
You go to Ginger Parish on Facebook. I pulled it up.
Okay, I have.
The show and
are there two little kids? There are lots of Ginger Parishes.
Ginger Parish 5. Ginger.parish and .5.
Did she live in Salt Lake City?
It was Ginger Theresa Faye Bowers. She has the Rothschild name, the red door name.
I'm just trying to give you the Facebook
Bowers.
name. It's
I'm just talking about the
/Ginger Facebook.com/Ginger.Parish PARRISH and the number 5. That's her. She's got a.
Where is she? What state?
Florida.
Facebook.com/Ginger.
Well, I'm already on Facebook. I'm already in there, so I'm just need to type in where her name is.
Gulf Breeze, Florida.
Oh, here it is. It says cancer patient Ginger Bowers, Bowers.
I'm on one set of videos, but I can't listen to it. She's got a dozen pictures.
Cancer patient Ginger Bowers will bring up one of her videos with the doctor right before she dies. He tells her to go home and die, basically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's after we went through all the ET stuff with the intelligence and the people from Norway and the extraterrestrials.
Let's see. I see you, TJ, and I see her with you. Was she taller than you?
She appeared taller because she was thin, but maybe an inch taller than me.
Let's see.
I was 5'11", but she stood about 6 feet.
She has a T-shirt on that says Wonder Woman. Is that her?
Yeah, I was their Wonder Woman growing up. I was a superhero to them because I was real strong and read tarot cards and I had superpowers.
And she has that T-shirt on, and
she loves me.
I pick up that she does. She was way ahead of her time. She was way ahead of her time, and not from here. She wanted to go back to her star system. Yeah, she chose it. She chose it. She did. She loved you very much. I see that. You're in a blue. You're in something blue, and you've got some turquoise around you. And she looks like she's had chemo treatment.
Oh, yeah, lots of it.
She's right here with us.
Wow.
She's with
Are you talking about
now? Yeah, right there.
How'd you know about the Wonder Woman? How did you know about Wonder Woman?
I'm looking at the picture. I'm looking at the picture.
It's on Facebook.
Yeah, it's on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
But I'm looking at her eyes, and she has ET eyes.
Oh, she had the most beautiful blue extraterrestrial eyes I'd ever seen. Mine are hazel.
Yeah.
Most of the ETs are hazel or blue, they say, but my husband's was brown, so I don't know. I think anything we say is. Thank you. She was very Brazilian because of her biological. But that when they realized they ran the biological genealogy on me, and then her dad was acquired benzene poisoning. There it is, benzene poisoning.
When was her birthday?
January 27th, 1974.
So she was an Aquarius.
Born in Houston, Texas. Beautiful Aquarian, very spiritual. High intelligence.
At St. Joseph?
She was born in Houston at Sharpstown Hospital.
Oh, Sharpstown.
Houston, Texas, Sharpstown. But it's Houston, called Houston.
That's beautiful. She's here with us. We have a lot of people around tonight that's been here that's gone on. Even Preston Nichols was with us tonight. And that's weird.
Well, that's good because multidimensionally, people need to understand life is eternal, and we're spiritual beings coming down, and we get these physical bodies, to fulfill some part of us. But the extraterrestrials that said they found us, they mixed us, but they were so highly intelligent. I mean, the stuff I learned, I saw things that I've only seen like in Minority Report because I couldn't explain what they used in the future. So people ask me to write 100 or 200 years in the future. So maybe you can help me, Karen, because people
and sometimes we get the future and the past mixed up, and it's all on a flat line anyway,
When
we go back
I wish I would have met you 10 years ago. Janet,
we'll meet each other. We'll all meet each other when all this calms down. We've just got to keep everybody. We just got to try to wake everybody up where they'll take care of themselves. That's what it is.
Well, with the COVID-19, it really has to do, I believe it was a designer gene. I know too much after going to Moffitt Cancer Center and all that, and I want this group I do have extraterrestrials and light workers and truth seekers in my books. So, I mean, I do give words of the people I want in my life. But Gigi I wanted, but she and I had a lot of trouble because she wanted to help the ETs and the people. And Tom talked about cancer with extraterrestrials. So Gigi and Tom had the same mission, but there's that guy this guy came on my show, Louis Reinhardt, that had the meeting where he didn't even know his part. He wanted to meet Andy and came on my radio show in the beginning, 2012 or 2013, having his own thing in Tennessee. He wanted to meet Andy, and Andy I talked to because of Pegasus. So I was on a mission to see what he knew about Montauk in Long Island, and then he started talking about Janet, and Janet was in the UFO thing, and then it brought me back years ago from finding Janet, and then we put the story that she was the one in 94 because we knew the same guy, Richard Higashida, and she was working as a contractor, and I was clearing everybody that came on the base, so I had to have met her, one way, but then I met her at the Hilton.
Isn't this amazing? Isn't this amazing how we're all tied in and there's all a time and a space, but they're telling me right now it's still all one time and space. We just see it as time has moved on, but it still always was. You know, we're just in and out of different interdimensional realities. And that's
I'd like to get to know you.
Huh?
Well, wait.
I'd like to get to know you.
We're going to have
me too.
to end this show. We can plan on another, but why don't we end
this has been fun.
Then,
Janet,
we'll
you've been
do
great.
Another one.
Absolutely. Let's do. I tell you, Derek he's still so grateful to you. So I know he'd love to talk to you.
I'd love to talk to Derek too. Yes, I want to talk to him.
And TJ, I want to know you too. And we've
you
already
sent me a LinkedIn thing. You sent me something on LinkedIn. You did. And I sent it back and said, okay.
Or did
I don't
Derek?
know. The ETs. I think Derek did it because it was day before yesterday.
No telling what happened.
Isn't Derek on the other side? Isn't that your husband?
No, my husband was Robert. He's my one and only, my galactic partner for many lifetimes. And right now, I will not. I don't need anybody else until I get with him. So
who is Derek?
Totally, Derek is the one who's helping me. Robert brought Derek to me. He's my angel, but he's a real human, and he's the one who's the IT genius, and he's a senior Apple man, and he used to he fought in the Afghanistan war, and he had troops. I mean, he's a Superman, really.
He probably knows my husband. What year he and I were in 80 to 93. Could you ask Derek?
Well, now Derek's young, 40. He's young. See, he's young. He's a young man. Yeah.
Oh, that's a totally different war and law and world than I was in.
It is.
Ours is outdated now.
I have to ask a technical question. This thing is going to be ending on us because I don't want to be talking and or off the air. So why don't we end it, and then we can pick this up if you're available next Friday. We can do part 2.
That sounds great.
Okay, so we'll just make, unless you have somebody that you have found, TJ, did you book next Friday, or is it open? We could add Karen back.
No, I'll let you book. I thought you wanted to book Fridays.
Okay, that's all I wanted. So Friday, next Friday, you have Karen. Next Friday, we'll have Karen. I do. We'll have Karen again next Friday. Okay. So can you play some exit music, and then we'll end this for today, and then we'll pick this up again next Friday. And everybody make some plans on what you want to ask with some topics, and email that to me. And let's pick 2 or 3.
And are you going to, if you can send those little shows yesterday, Janet, to Derek, and this today, I'll put them. He can put them all over the place for you.
Yes, I'm going to get this one as soon as we sign off. I have to upload it.
Oh, right.
Download and upload it. I couldn't upload. I can only upload one show a day.
If you need his help, he can help you.
Okay,
I just don't know.
Will you give him my name too? Will you give him my name too?
Yeah, I will. He's just, the thing is that he's just so I have to work with him at midnight, you see, because he works all day.
I mean, I have to work a lot. I have to work with a lot of people at midnight. Yeah, I work until 4 a.m. in the morning, and I sleep 4 to 12.
Do you really? Oh, my God.
I have to, because I work with people all over the world.
Oh,
I have a lot of customers. I'm a techie. I'm a developer, but I don't write C++, but I should. But right now, people are going,
y'all are both techies. Well, that's wonderful that y'all can do that.
Well, yeah, you can have.
I can't do programming. Okay, I really have to leave because I'm just going to break. I have to pee.
Okay, all right.
Okay, listen,
right,
I love you both, and it's been fantastic. I've loved it.
Okay,
I think
look
it's
forward to
great.
next week. Stay in touch.